When I was a little girl, I used to, the greatest, deepest desire of my heart was to learn how to play double dutch. I do not know how to play double dutch still to this day. And now that I'm older, I can't play double dutch. I cannot play that because I cannot jump. Let me see. There was tag. I remember that. Red light, green light. Those were some of the childhood games. And then there were the game of jacks that we played on the stoop. And one of the games that I love, my brother did this mainly, is he would, I don't even know what you call it, but it was like a top. And he would spin the top, and it was inside this contraption called a gyroscope. And
Yeah.
I used to wonder at the cylindrical forces that help that go around. Listen, this is Anne Marie, host of About This Life. About This Life is a show where we take a look at some of the struggles that we have gone through. We make some decisions in terms of changing our lives and switching it around. Why do we want to make that decision? Because we want to be happy. We want to be happy. So my guest today on this show is Mr. Frank Healy. Hi, Frank. How are you
Hi.
today?
Yeah, I'm good, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Frank, for being my guest. One of the things that I read about you and that I know about you is that you are a licensed professional counselor. What type of counselor?
Well, it really entails just about everything a psychologist can do with clients. I counsel people with depression, anxiety issues, anger issues. I used cognitive behavioral and also dialectical behavioral therapy mostly. And I also counsel couples and families, and I do a little bit with addictions. So it's
Okay.
a little
So
bit
I,
of
I I understand cognitive behavior therapy. That's like talk therapy, right?
yeah, where you change your thoughts around, reframe how you think about things, and then that in turn affects how you feel and then what you'll do and attempt. It's kind of like I use a metaphor of a train with three station stops.
Hmm.
It's like, it's like first is thought center, and
Mm-hmm.
then you go to emotion junction, and then
Okay.
city.
Okay. But so I grasp cognitive behavior therapy, and thank you for describing that. But you mentioned a different type of therapy. What was the other one? Started with a D, dialectical or
Yeah, dialectical behavioral therapy.
what is that,
Well,
Frank?
it's a combination of four things. In fact, I just got finished running my weekly group of it at work. It's a combination of interpersonal effectiveness, mindfulness, emotional regulation, and distress tolerance.
Okay. Those are impressive. And I think about like emotional regulation. Oh my goodness, we would be in a better state of being if we can regulate ourselves.
Yes.
But Frank, you got to psychology through an interesting journey. Now, you have something called hyperthymesia, and help me if I'm not pronouncing that
Yeah, that's right.
correctly.
You got that right.
Hyperthymesia, what I remember from grade school is hyper means excessive or
Yeah.
over. I have no idea what thymesia means. You have to help me out.
Well, essentially, what it means is autobiographical memory. Like the popular term is where I was studied at UCI, they call it highly superior autobiographical memory. But being a writer and a person who likes to speak proper English, I prefer just calling it superior autobiographical memory. And basically, what it is I remember every day of my life since I was almost 6 years old, and I'm now 65. So
Mm,
that's like and that includes the day of the week a date was, the weather where I was, personal events and if there was any big news events that day.
Wow. Wow. Since you were 6?
Yeah.
How is that possible? Is it that your brain functions differently, or how does your mind retain all of that data?
Well, one of the things they did when I was studied at UCI in California was they gave a CAT scan, and many of the others that were studied who have this, and they did find that our brains are the frontal lobes where we do a lot of our thinking are almost twice the size of the average person. So it's almost like there's more room in there to and
Ooh.
yeah, so and how that led me to studying psychology was, in addition to all the facts and experiences, I also remember the emotions I felt at each day. And that might be a good thing if I was having fun with friends or on vacation or on
Mm-hmm.
a good date.
Mm-hmm.
But it also included days where romantic breakups, criticism at jobs, and all kinds of negative things. So I thought, since I'll never forget any of this stuff, I could at least maybe let go of the feelings and emotions that I had. And that's what got me interested in psychology.
The emotions attached to them. So
Yeah.
take me back into the day. Like I went back to my childhood. I was talking about different games we played, red light, green light,
I,
things of that sort. What are some games you played as a child, Frank?
well, we played Red Rover. It was similar. That made when you were talking about the games, I thought of that, where Red Rover, and they named someone to come over, and they formed a chain of kids. And well, since I was a pretty big kid, I was always able to break the chain.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, between people. So I always enjoyed playing that, and of course we I would play Monopoly, and when Trivial Pursuit came out, you can only imagine how much I enjoyed playing that.
Everybody wants Frank on their team,
Yeah,
on their side.
yeah,
That is awesome. That would be a positive use for it
yeah.
in terms of hyperthymesia. Oh my goodness. Well, how about high school? Do you remember your first crush? Those are the big events in our lives, right? The first crush.
Yes, I remember. Yes, I remember my first crush. It actually happened. Started in March of sixth grade. I was
Ah,
Friday, March 10th, 1972, was when it began. I remember it was a girl in my class who was the shortest girl and kind of cutesy. And I remember I was teasing a friend of mine in the class that he and her were an item. And then I wrote it up on the blackboard during lunch break. And she comes up and butts in front of me and starts erasing it. And I just suddenly felt this attraction. And
oh my goodness. That's a memory that you will never forget. And what are the emotions? So you said it began in sixth grade, so it continued for years and years, or you've always liked her?
well, then in seventh grade, I was in classes with different kids. We started junior high, which is now called middle school in most places. But then I fell, then I fell, developed a crush on the shortest girl in my classes there. And in fact, I remember I never told her that because I was kind of a shy kid. In fact, I was even too shy to admit I liked girls when I'd be.
Mm-hmm.
And but then I remember on New Year's Eve 2009 going into 10, she and I friended on Facebook, and I explained that to her, and she goes, "Oh, too funny, the things we remember."
Yes, I was going to say you might make the ideal boyfriend though, Frank, because you will remember the person's eyes, the color of their eyes. You
Oh, yeah.
will remember the favorite song and the favorite color.
Oh, yeah. Well, well, yes. When I first started dating my now wife in October of 2007, the 26th was our first date. And it just happened the day before my first book came out, Living with a Phenomenal Memory. It was a memoir about what it was like living with this memory. And she told me, well, of course, you'll remember my birthday and remember that stuff, but you're not to bring up things like I remember 3 years ago today we had a big fight,
Mhm.
and I've kept to that.
I'm sure she got to lay down the law. Okay, you are not going to share all everything, and that is part of your self-regulation to be able to say there are certain things that is not for the public to know. Uh,
Well,
how do
that's
you
it.
would go ahead?
Well, that's it. I mean, certain. I mean, I'm very. I mean, some people have asked me, am I autistic because I can do this? And although starting in the 2013 classification DSM-4, what I have was considered a form of autism, but I'm not at all like I mean, I can read people, sense how they're feeling and all, and
Mm-hmm.
I have enough sense to be able to anything personal only to tell select people.
Absolutely. So you perceptive,
Yeah.
discerning is something that you have and you know how to use that. My questions it figures as you grew older and you understand that you have this gift. What happens when you really wish you didn't remember something? What happens when you really wish, oh my gosh, that is something I really want to forget about? How do you address that?
Well, it's I well I use several several techniques which I teach my clients I, I'll reframe the thoughts about it, like look at it as an opportunity rather than just chalk it up as a bad day. And I'll do some EFT tapping, which is a great way to quickly eliminate an unwanted feeling. What it does was you tap where your nerve endings are and it gets the
Like,
emotional electricity out. And so, that,
okay.
yeah, like that. And
Mm-hmm.
same thing. And it's like, yeah, so what? It happened. The emotional charge isn't there. And
Right.
so
Right.
now, then there's breathing exercises that can help get rid of an unwanted feeling and give you a better feeling. So I've got it to where I'll remember a lot of the. I mean, I'll still let myself have the feelings when a good memory pops up, but when a
Mm-hmm.
bad memory, it's just like, oh no. And part of the whole thing, I mean, whoever said therapy has to be real complex and difficult? It doesn't have to.
Okay. Okay.
It's like
What?
I'll tell how a lot of it depends on like how much airtime in your brain you give a thought. And if it's a bad memory, I'll just immediately switch to another thought before it has time to take too much emotional charge.
Let's
Uh,
talk about emotional charges a little bit because, when we think about romantic relationships, when we think about maybe there's a breakup, especially among women, we have a tendency to replay that thing like a movie on repeat.
uh,
We replay that script over and over again. He did what? He did this. He did. Oh, we replay and we live in that misery
uh,
for a time because
yeah,
we're
well, and even
reproduced, Frank.
yes, well, even though it's maybe like I think a lot of women may have been society conditioned to
Hmm.
do that, replace something, and they're trying to figure out how can I resolve this. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can just switch to a different thought because not only will that lessen the emotional buildup inside you, but it'll also a lot of times if it's something you're just trying to figure out, a lot of
Yeah.
times the solution will come when you're not consciously thinking about it.
Absolutely. It's almost like there's a clearing, like a person crosses your mind and you have to self-regulate and say, I'm going to think about something else, or
Yeah,
I'm going to do my tapping,
yeah,
or for me, it's like movement. I'm going to go exercise now. I'm going to go do something just a little different,
yeah,
right?
right.
Yeah. So it's like that. You've mentioned writing a few times. How has writing showed up in your life?
Well, it started out with, I've since done a revision of my book, Living with a Phenomenal Memory. It's now Who Could Forget? And and since then, I wrote a self-help trilogy called Heal Your Memories. And what I did for each of those three books is I interviewed 12 to 15 people who had been through some real trauma but are now happy and thriving. The traumas included things like school and workplace bullying, being raped on the street, having a career sidelining injury, or growing up in a war zone. And but now they're happy and thriving. And then I intersperse between the stories exercises, usually little meditative things on what you can do to heal yourself of the emotional wounds of past memories. And so there's that. And I've written some books on emotional intelligence. And I recently, well, so far in 25, I've come out with Happy Every Day, which is a book about how you can be happy in your everyday life and not just like when you're on a vacation or on significant times or on weekends. And I wrote a book on Stoic philosophy, which is
Mhm.
really in modern times, that's about emotional regulation. And my latest book just came out this month, and last week it hit three of number one on three of Amazon's bestseller lists. It was called a somatic therapy for beginners. It's all about healing emotions that might be trapped inside your body in various parts.
I've talked with a lot of therapists, and a lot of people speak to that notion that um, your body remembers, your body keeps the score, that our emotions, without a place to go, is trapped in our body.
Yeah.
Unpack that for us. Share with us your perspective on what that means. How does emotion get trapped in our bodies?
Well, what happens, it usually gets trapped when you're having a bad or a traumatic experience and you're not allowed to just move the way you want and express yourself. I think the most obvious example of this would be rape or incest, where someone's
Mhm.
controlling your body, and or it could be that you weren't allowed to get angry growing up and you were yelled at a lot, and so the body that emotion might get trapped in your jaw if you'd like to say something, or trapped in your arm, or you would like to make fists, but you couldn't, or even in the face if
Mhm.
you keep a poker face, or they'd yell at you more or beat you more. And so it gets trapped there. A big part of somatic therapy is now getting to move that body part and relive the experience where you resolve it, and that'll free the emotion from being trapped in that part of the body. And a lot of I mean, I used to give massages and I've
Mhm.
received them. So sometimes people who are traumatized, they'll be getting a massage, it's all nice, but all of a sudden, if they touch a certain part of their body, they'll get a flood of negative feeling. And that shows that that emotion is trapped in that body part that was just touched.
Yes, it's trapped, and so we're really talking about energy, the
Yeah,
transfer of energy. and moving it through the body and allowing for its release. One of the ways in terms of healing is this idea of gratitude.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So we always we give gratitude in terms of changing our perspective, our mindset um, about a situation. Are there any other ways besides gratitude, or is gratitude a big one on your list?
Well, gratitude is a big one on my list. I make a list of 5 to 10 things every morning when I get up in a journal, and I'll think about things to be grateful for when I go to bed. And because, I mean, most people will feel gratitude naturally in a
Mhm.
relieving circumstance, such as an accident that was avoided, or maybe they were worried about maybe a medical prognosis, but just got some good news about it. So, there's so a lot of, but you can make yourself be grateful about anything. I mean, grateful even that you can move, or sometimes I get what might seem a little silly about it, but it still is gratitude. Like if I'm in a meal, I'll be grateful for dishes and bowls and glasses,
Yes.
cups. Otherwise, eating and drinking would be a real mess. And
How about that?
so, yeah, be and sometimes when I mean maybe if I'm doing something silly, I'll be grateful that only select people can see it.
Yes, yes. And select people with no judgment, you
Right,
know.
that's
And
it.
I can relate to that, Frank, because there are times, especially when I'm exhausted, that's when it comes out where I become giddy. And I just start laughing and I'm like hysterical. And then people are looking at me like, what's wrong with that woman? And I'm just like, this is me, I didn't take anything, but this is just me. I show up giddy sometimes. So what advice in closing us out then, what advice would you give someone who's going through a time with some of the most painful memories and there's nothing that they can do about it? What advice would you want to give that listener?
Well, I'd say definitely get into therapy, but also read about the a plethora of ways you can heal yourself, whether it includes both talk, cognitive therapy, DBT, tapping, maybe exercise therapy. Do as much as you can bring to bear on it.
Absolutely. So there's definitely hope where somebody can go with that. So, well, okay. Any last minute thoughts and comments that you would like to share?
Yes, I would like to say that I'm sorry I'm limited today, but I'd be glad to come on to the show again sometime where I have a whole hour blocked off, because I feel like we could have gone on and on about this. And there is something that I am waiting to hear about that could create some more things to talk about. I spent a week.
Hey, Frank, no shame, no shame.
Okay.
Because believe it or not, I'm looking at the little clock on my computer and we've been talking for a good 25, 30 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So there's no shame at all because we covered the main things, and the main thing is that there is hope and that we do not have to live in our trauma.
That's
What
right.
I what I understand from you is that you have this gift, and this gift led you through a path where you are now helping others reshape their memories or the way they think about it and the emotional self-regulation, and that people, there is hope. There is something you can do. So, yes, we have accomplished the mission.
Yeah. All right.
So I would thank you, and I thank you for listening, for naming the three books that you've written, and I'm sure that's going to be a fantastic resource for our listeners. So thank you for that as
Yes.
well.
Yes, well, I'd like to say that I've actually written more than 20. So you go to my
Oh,
Amazon page or my website, you'll have lots of selections.
okay. So Amazon find Frank Healy, and then we will find the selections. Is that what we do?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. This is Anne Marie, host of About This Life, where we are changing our lives one day at a time.